Welcome to this webinar hosted by Linköping University. Today we're here to share some useful tips to help you prepare for your application for a Swedish residence permit. We'll start with a short presentation, and after that we will invite you to post your questions in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. Today's session is focused on residence permits. So if you have other questions, please reply to one of our emails, and you get you'll get an answer that way. And we will focus on residence permits for students only. If you have questions about other permits, or let's say for family members, please contact the migration agency directly. Okay, so you're admitted. Congratulations. What's next? Step 1. Decide if you're ready for a new adventure.
So you've made up your mind and decided that LiU is the right alternative for you. Excellent. Then it's time to begin your journey to getting a residence permit for studies. You require one as a non-EU, non-EEA and non-Swiss citizen staying for longer than 3 months.
Step 2. Pay your first semester tuition fee as soon as possible.
Exactly. The Swedish Migration Agency will not start processing your application unless they see that the tuition fee is paid. Once we receive your payment at Linköping University, we register it in our system. You should be able to see that through your student interface as well. The Swedish Migration Agency has access to our system, so you do not need to submit any separate document stating that you have paid. They can see it in the system.
Step 3. Apply for a residence permit.
Yes, and before you do, make sure that you have all the documents at the ready. It might be tempting knowing that it can take some time to send in your application as soon as possible, thinking that you can send the remaining documents afterwards. But this will result in a delay, so no incomplete applications.
Let's talk a bit about requirements then. What are the requirements?
Yes, so obviously you need to hold a passport, and it needs to be valid for your entire stay in Sweden, which is a step that is easy to miss otherwise. You will need to present it at a Swedish Migration Agency's
Or embassy?
embassy, exactly. And that was the first requirement. We will talk about how to present it a little bit later. Now you also need to be admitted to full-time studies on campus. This means that if you were admitted to distance studies, distance program, then you will not be able to get a residence permit for studies in Sweden. And third, you need to show that you have sufficient means. It amounts to about $1,060 per month, and you need to show that you have the fees for living expenses for the whole period of your application. So you can apply for 1 year or 2 years at a time.
So how can I prove that I have financial means?
You need to submit a bank statement showing your bank assets. It could be your savings, it could be loans, or you could show that you hold a scholarship. One important thing there is that the bank must be established and licensed. You cannot submit documents from a microfinance bank or digital wallet.
And below, we've calculated how much it costs for 1 year and for 2 years. So just to give you an idea of how much funding you'll need.
Yes, and it's very important that you have that amount because if you don't show it, then they will definitely say no to you.
Yes. So are there any specific requirements for bank statements?
Yes, and they're very specific. First of all, the bank account needs to be in your name, and this should be also seen on the statement. There's just one exception, and that is if you hold an account together with your spouse. But it cannot be your parents' bank account, even if they intend to support you.
What should be included?
Yes, so bank statement should show the name of the account holder, that is you, the bank name, licensed bank, the date of issue, and obviously the balance and the currency should be clear. Now, speaking of date of issue, it is important that the bank statement is not too old. 4 months is the limit. So say that you're applying for a residence permit starting on the 1st of August, then the bank statement needs to be from the 1st of April or later.
What if I was awarded a scholarship, for example, from the Swedish Institute?
Yes, then it's the easiest way. Then you do not need to show your bank statement, because we know that Swedish Institute scholarship cover the costs both of tuition and living expenses, so just submit your certificate. But going back to the bank statement, there's one thing I would like to mention, and it is that if you have received a large deposit, which is quite reasonable, you need to be able to give clarification where the money comes from and what is the purpose.
Yes.
And finally, you need to have a comprehensive healthcare insurance. Now, as a fee-paying student, you will be covered by something that is called FIS Plus insurance, and this is good enough for the Swedish Migration Agency. But we recommend that you log on to our webpage, browse our webpage for more information, or write an email to us so you can see what's included exactly.
Let's take this opportunity to highlight a few common mistakes to avoid. The most common mistake is not submitting all required documents immediately. You might think that it's fine to submit your documents later. It's not, because that will delay the process, and you will receive your answer later than those who submitted everything at once. Another thing to avoid is that the bank assets must be in your name. The account must be in your name only. It cannot be a shared account. It cannot be someone else's account. There's one exception, and that is if you have a co-applying spouse. Then a shared account is accepted. If you have a sponsor, the sponsor must transfer the money to your account. Fixed deposits or frozen funds are not accepted. And again, make sure you have funding before you pay the tuition fee and before you apply for a residence permit. Because if you don't have that, your application will be denied. Let's talk a bit about the application process.
Yes, the fastest way is, of course, to apply online. For that, aside from an email address, you will need access to a payment card, and it has to be Visa or MasterCard. The amount is set to 1,500 Swedish krona, that is approximately $150 US. And you need to have prepared all your documents, digital copies of those. You can scan them or photograph as long as they're clear enough. When you apply, you will also be asked to choose a consulate or an embassy that can contact you. That is the place where you show your passport, where you give your biometric data, fingerprints, photograph, and possibly you will be asked to attend an interview. Now, when you choose it, make sure that it is an embassy or consulate that handles migration cases, as not all of them do.
Not everyone has to visit an embassy to get their passport checked, right?
Exactly. You can see in the blue box there are 22 countries and territories that are exempt, visa exempt. And these countries can be offered digital passport control. So let's just go through it once more, what you need to have done to be able to get digital passport control. You need to have applied for residence permit for studies in Sweden. Does not apply to many other types of resident permits. You need to have applied via the e-service, and you need to be a citizen of one of those countries and territories.
Once I've applied for a residence permit, can I expect a quick decision on my application?
Well, not necessarily. The normal processing time is about 8 to 12 weeks. And that depends on a number of factors. For example, how busy the Swedish Migration Agency is, or if it's a complete application or not. But if you have used the e-service, then you will be notified via email as soon as the decision is made, which is the fastest way to know. Afterwards, the decision will be sent to your embassy/consulate, and 1 or 2 weeks later, you will also receive a residence permit card.
What is a residence permit card, really?
Well, basically, it's a small plastic card that is very important, as the decision alone, on paper or electronically, is not enough for you to enter Sweden. So you will need to provide that card when you cross the border. And I would like to say once more, unfortunately, we cannot influence the speed of processing, neither of your application for residence permit itself, nor the residence permit card.
That's why it's so important to pay your tuition fee and apply for a residence permit as soon as possible, as soon as you've decided to study at LIU. So what is the best time to arrive?
Well, obviously, it's good to arrive a couple of weeks in advance, if possible, so you can get ready, settle in, solve all the practical matters beforehand. But the really important thing is that you need to arrive by the roll call. The roll call, that's the first day, and you have been notified when it is. And it's absolutely crucial that you participate, because if you don't, you will lose your place on the program. And one more thing I would like to say is that don't rely on an opportunity of getting a part-time job as a way to finance yourself. It can be difficult to get a job in Sweden, that's one thing. But also, there is an impending change from the Swedish Migration Agency, meaning that the students will not be able to work to the same extent as they did before. So make sure that you have all your funding ready.
Yes, we're expecting the number of hours will be limited.
Yeah.
The number of hours that you are allowed to work will be limited. Okay, we hope that this has given you a clearer understanding of how to prepare a successful application. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.